I'm Sarah Lacey, and I work for the Noise Museum in Stockton Arts and Humanities Department. I am the event coordinator and marketing coordinator for them. And we're missing Stephanie Kleinman, who's a huge part in the organization of this program. She is the assistant to the COO and the coordinator of programming for Stockton University Atlantic City campus. We also have Kendrin Diet and Belinda Chester, our friends from Rutgers Cooperative Extension of Atlantic County. Belinda is a program coordinator and Kendrin is a program associate. And tonight we have our Healthy-ish Habits for College Cooking with a Women's History Month theme. So we're going to be celebrating famous women in history.
We are going to start with, so we're going to talk about a few different women chefs over the course of the evening, and there's so many I could talk about. Fun fact, my business degree is from Stockton, and I had a minor in women's studies, so I was super excited when we decided to do this theme, because one thing that I always really loved when I went to culinary school, when I left here I went to culinary school, and one thing that I really loved was really food history in general and women's history when it comes to food, because we've done so many wonderful things, and sometimes that gets a little lost in the age of Food Network, but there are people who have really paved the way in the food industry. And so we're going to talk about a few of those people tonight. And the first one I want to talk about really briefly is one of our more local people, and that is Jen LaMonica. She is the president of the Board of Agriculture for Atlantic County. And people may not realize that, but she is actually running our Board of Agriculture right now, and she is part owner with for Walking Bird Farm, and they are really focused on, like us, local ingredients, really connecting with other people in the community and artisan, artisan breads and local, just a lot of local ingredients and people who are small businesses. So, I really wanted to mention her and talk about the great work that she does in this county, and also a Stockton graduate. And I believe her was environmental studies, yes, as I recall. Yes. So we see her quite a bit, and we wanted to talk about her briefly. But getting into our first recipe, and we'll talk a little bit about her again later. Our first recipe is inspired by Edna Lewis, who was the first, actually she was the inaugural person who got the James Beard Achievement Award, which is a pretty amazing award. If you don't know a lot about food, a James Beard Award is like the ultimate in the United States to get. Everyone wants a James Beard Award. And she was the first person to get the Lifetime Achievement Award, and she has a really amazing history. So I'm going to let Kendra talk about that in just a moment, but I'm going to get us started on her recipe first. So this is called baked tomatoes with crusty bread. So we actually did this a little bit ahead of time. We chopped up some onions in here and sauteed them in, put some garlic. We have some fresh thyme. We have stewed tomatoes in here, just chopped whole tomatoes, a few diced tomatoes. And in her original recipe, and this is one of her most famous recipes, in the original recipe she uses brown sugar. We halved the amount of brown sugar that you would normally use in the recipe, which is in your folder, and we used carrots. So the reason we did that is carrots are a natural sugar, so they will actually, as they cook down in here, they'll get really soft and they just kind of meld into the flavors. And this has something that's a little interesting that we don't normally think of in a tomato sauce. This looks like our normal tomato sauce we'd use with pasta. This actually has allspice in it. It's got cloves in it, so some interesting flavors going on. We added a little bit of basil tonight, a little bit of oregano, and then it's got some salt and black pepper. I often say this in these programs, we garlic with our hearts. So the recipe you have says 2 garlic cloves, but there's probably 6 in here. There might be 8. I don't know. There may be 8. So we've been letting this simmer for about a half hour now. So you really want to let it, once you get the tomatoes in there, you want to get those onions to a nice golden brown first, and then start adding your tomatoes and all of your spices in there. And then we let this simmer for a little while, and we're going to put it in a baking dish. So I'm going to turn, while I do that, I'm going to turn it over to Kendra, and he's going to talk to us a little more about the inspiration of this recipe. And our recipes throughout the night are going to be, they're not exact recipes, they're inspired recipes by women in the food industry. So I'm going to start getting this ready while you talk.
All right. The one I actually really loved reading up on this women's history food program. Belinda did a great job of research. So Edna Lewis, reading this, I didn't even know. You learn a lot of things when you do this research. Edna Lewis, like she said, was first inaugural winner of the James Beard Living Legend Award. James Beard, thank you. James Beard Living Legend Award. She was born in 1916, of 18 children. She's known for bringing Southern cuisine to the forefront. When she brought it up, it was a lot of soul food. She came to New York, and she had a Manhattan cafe called Nicholson, and from the 1950s. And the good thing is, the food was so good, different folks would come, different Bahamian type, actors like Marlon Brando, different people would come and eat that food, so she would become more and more famous. Not only that, she started doing more soul food cookbooks. We'll talk more about Julia Childs, the person that helped Julia Childs become published. But her editor actually helped back her, so she, became more and more popular with the help of Julia Childs' editor. She also ran a pheasant farm with her husband and working his career as a culinary teacher. Like I said, she opened up a restaurant in Harlem. And also she taught for decades at the African Hall at the Smithsonian National Museum of History. So she, not only was a chef and a cook, she was also an educator and about the food and presented it to all types of folks.
She's really known as the mother of soul food. So she brought soul food to haute cuisine. It became more than just soul food. It was something that's sought after now. So really a very amazing life. And if you ever get a chance to really read up on everything that she's done, there's a lot written about her, but really just such an amazing influence on the food industry in general. And so nice that she was recognized while she was still alive, actually, so that people really started to see all of the work that she had done. But her and her husband did quite a few things after she retired. So we're kind of doing an inspired recipe. So her recipe actually says to use white bread. So we have used about half to 3/4 white bread in we poured our tomato mixture into the baking dish. We've used about half to 3/4 of white bread, and then we're using a seeded bread as well, just to kind of change it up a little bit. And then we're going to pour some melted butter over that and put it in the oven and let it bake for about 20 minutes. Try not to make too much of a mess here. So you could actually brush this on. We're just going to kind of pour it over, but you could brush this on to really get it on there. And we're going to give it a little extra, little parsley on top, just to kind of give it some color. And then we're going to throw that in the oven on about 425 for about 20 minutes, just to let that bread get really crispy. And then we'll have some for you guys to taste.